Welcome. Thank you for joining us here tonight for tonight's biology town hall meeting. I'm Carol Branson. I'm the Vice President for Marketing and Communications, and I'm joined by two of Flagler's biology faculty and Sam Cohen, one of our students who is a student scientist. And we're going to learn a lot about what the interesting work they are doing here tonight. And so I think we'll just get started with a few quick introductions. Madeline, if you want to kick us off and just tell us who you are and maybe one word that describes the Flagler biology experience.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Madeline Doiron. Most of my students call me Dr. D because of that scary French last name. I am the director of the biology program here at Flagler, and I don't know, one word for the major, maybe interactive or personalized. I don't know. That was
I
two
like it.
two different words.
Who wants to go next? Ed?
Sure. Madeline, you stole my word. I was going to use interactive. Um, but my name is Ed McGinley. I'm an associate professor here. And I'm also our science department chair. So I oversee the natural sciences, which has biology and the coastal environmental science major. And one word to describe our program, I think I would go with unique.
Mhm.
Nice. And then Sam.
Okay, so I'm Sam. I'm a coastal environmental science major, biology minor. And one word to describe the department. I don't know. Those words were really good. I guess just exhilarating.
Oh, those are all great. I love them. Okay, so before we get started, just a quick housekeeping. So we are recording the event tonight, and you'll receive a link afterwards via email. But if you have any questions along the way, just drop them into the chat anytime, and we'll be trying to monitor those and weave those into the conversation as we go along. So let's get started with the town hall. Madeline and I were just talking. I've been a longtime fan of the science programs here at Flagler College. I had the benefit of moderating a capstone project very early in my time here at Flagler. And my daughter and I were sitting on the backside listening as students were presenting their capstone projects. And I've listened to many research projects at other institutions, but I sat there and I was so impressed with the topics and the quality of research that was being presented. And so this is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm just thrilled to be here tonight guiding the discussion. So I think we'd all agree, right, that it's an exciting time to be a biology student here. The Flagler Biology Program is one of our fastest growing programs. And our students here are actually student scientists, which I just love. And so we have students in the program that are regularly presenting their research. And I've heard stories about some who are even presenting internationally, I think like Africa and in Scotland. And so our faculty who we have here, they've, been working to create this program deliberately. And, as part of that, we have labs, but we also have our location. So we have a river, we have the coast, we have some parks, and these are all natural resources that allow for a unique and hands-on experience, which I hope that we get to hear all about tonight. So we're going to start with something I guess I'm hoping is fun, which is a lightning round. So what is it actually like to be here? So there's going to be quick questions. Anyone on the panel can jump in. And if you're in the audience and you have a lightning round question that you want to ask, feel free to drop it into the chat and we'll work it in. Okay, so the first one. Let's talk about like favorite spots to do biology work. So if you had to name your favorite spot to do biology work, where would it be?
If I had to pick one, and it's hard to choose, on the sort of field side of it, we have extensive coastal marshes here that are very neat, and they're experiencing a lot of changes, with changes in local conditions. And so, as an ecologist, I'm always really excited to get out there and get my feet in the mud and look at the animals and plants that are occupying those marshes.
I will
Nice.
say for me, it's going to be kind of an off the wall one, but marinas. I love going to our local marinas because it's basically started a sea turtle research project for me. I've seen sharks, alligators, I've seen manatees. There's all of the growth on the docks there. So it's just an amazingly diverse area where you wouldn't expect one to.
Nice.
Um,
Sam?
yeah, so I would say anything that I can do research like out on the boat. So honestly, anywhere that is, like I love doing it. So yeah.
So we have a special surprise. We have one more student here who's going to join us, Zoe. I'm going to bring her into the conversation. Let's see if this works. Oh, I think we're here. Hi, Zoe. All right, we'll keep going and we'll see if Zoe can join in with us. So if you're if so we have prospective students joining us today, and so if you're a prospective student, what would you not expect about studying biology here if you've been looking across at biology programs in general? What is something that would be unexpected about ours?
I would say the sort of one-on-one interaction that students get with their faculty. Um, Most other colleges, in particular, right, the lab instruction is often done by graduate students or TAs or lab instructors. And so you get your professor in the lecture, but you get somebody else teaching you the lab. That is like the norm a lot across many colleges in the US. And we do things differently here in that we teach our labs ourselves. And so we are right in there side by side with our students so that there's a real connectivity with what happens in the class and what happens in the lab. And I do think that is one thing that sets us apart. It's often where we really get to know the students, I find.
I love that.
Start going first so you stop stealing my answers. Um, but I would say because we developed a coastal environmental science major first before biology, we have a wealth of knowledge about things besides biology that influence our biological sciences. So you can go the pre-health route. We have students, Zoe, who's on the call now, has been accepted to veterinary school. We have several other students who've been accepted to veterinary school. But also you can go kind of conservation biology route and work with organisms in the environment. So I think it's just a unique biology program, I think is kind of sets us apart.
I love that. Sam, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I would definitely agree with what Dr. D and Dr. McGinley said, and kind of like building off of what Dr. D said, from a student perspective, I definitely really appreciate having that one-on-one and knowing my professor, knowing the students in my class, just because I feel like it benefits me in the long run. I have better letters of recommendation, better research experience, and it just makes my life a lot easier, like knowing my professor, being able to talk about exams, assignments, all that. So I definitely think having that one-on-one is like the best part about Flagler, honestly.
I love that. Zoe, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah. Can you hear us?
So sorry, go ahead.
No, this question's over to you.
Okay. So yeah, I think I agree. For me, I really appreciate the small class sizes and actually being able to like know your professors on a personal level. I feel like that helped a lot for me.
Hmm.
Um, I was able to do research with Dr. McGinley and Dr. D. She was my capstone professor, and I feel like both of them helped a lot in just guidance and already knowing the area and what's best to study around here, like they already know. And so having that insight from them is really helpful as well.
Great. Let's see. Let's talk about like the actual work. So if you're thinking about like things that you've collected, things you've tested or observed, is there anything like out of the ordinary or interesting that's part of your work?
I'll let Ed go first this time.
Um, So I will say kind of my background is fisheries biology, but since coming here, having an opportunity to work with sea turtles, I'm learning along this with the students. The sea turtles in our area and green sea turtles around the world suffer from a tumor like virus that causes these kind of cauliflower like tumors on the soft tissues of their body. So being able to work with our local sea turtle hospital and track patients after they go to the hospital to see if this disease kind of reemerges. That's something that Zoe was helping on. So just being able to have a real world application to animal health has been kind of a really cool thing that I've been involved in.
I love that.
I think
Was
broadly, I think being guided by the interests of our students is one thing that I really enjoy about being here. And so I have my own sort of research interests, but there's been many cases where a student has come to me with a research project that they are interested in. So for instance, we had a recent grad who was interested in like using citizen science, like this big database of observations of wild birds, and then using sort of like spatial analysis software to like come up with suitable sites for conservation for the nesting of like wild birds. And it was kind of marrying an interest that the student already had in computer science, but totally not something that I would necessarily have done on my own. But he came to me with this idea, and we worked on it together. And it was really fun. I learned from it as well. And so I think being guided by the interests of our students is what kind of takes me to interesting places a lot of the time.
I love that. Sam, Zoe?
Yeah, so obviously, so I'm an undergraduate student, so anything I experience here is new to me. But I do have to say, at Flagler, there's not just one like set area that's focused. So I've done research in wetlands, sea turtle research, water quality. So I get to see like all different areas of research, and it's really beneficial because then I can see what field I might want to go into, what field I might not want to go into. So honestly, any of that has been super cool to experience. And honestly, anytime I get to work with animals directly, that's usually my favorite. I think it's so cool, so fascinating. And anytime I get to just be out on the field, it's just like awesome.
Exhilarating. Isn't that your word? Zoe?
Um, Again, yeah, I'm still an undergrad, so most of the experiencers are still super cool to me and new. Again, my capstone was with Dr. D, and I think that that was probably the coolest thing I've done at Flagler so far. We were able to research the mucus from cannonball jellyfish, and we basically were trying to analyze if there was enough collagen in the mucus to promote regeneration. And the way that we did that was through a lot of help from Dr. D and all of their everybody's ideas together. But we we were able to place the mucus in a container with planarians, which are regenerative sorry organisms that are like a model organism. And I probably never would have been able to do that at a different school, in a different program. So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
This is why I love talking to the people in the sciences. It's always so fascinating. I always have so many questions, but we'll have to keep moving along. But fascinating research that you all are doing. Let's switch the subject just a little bit to keep us moving along. So we know that, our location is unique. And so I have a few questions along those lines. And I think you all have answered a lot of it, but we'll try to maybe dive in just a little bit deeper along with like research. And so we have a lot of students here who are prospective students on the call who might be asking the question about when would I get to actually do research? So how accessible is research here if you're a first year, maybe even a second year student, and like how would they go about getting involved in that?
Madeline's waiting to see if I jump on to answer it.
I mean, I would love to hear from the students from this
Yeah,
because
me
both
too.
Sam and Zoe have been
Yeah.
involved in undergraduate research, and so I think they can speak to that more directly.
I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I would definitely say start as soon as possible and don't be afraid to start as soon as possible. I started my freshman year, second semester, and I started by volunteering with Dr. McGinley's sea turtle research, and I was photographing sea turtles. We were identifying them by the patterns on their head. And so I just started out with that. And then I eventually moved. He has a sea turtle class that you can receive credits for. And then that escalated. And I just returned from Hawaii with him. We were at the International Sea Turtle Symposium. So even if like you're starting out small and you think that just volunteering isn't going to get you anywhere, it definitely will. And I definitely think that any experience you take is going to be beneficial. And it, in the long run, even if you don't continue it, you do have that one-on-one connection with the professor that you were working for. So I think honestly starting as soon as possible is better. And I think your professors are going to appreciate it more when you start as a freshman because it shows like you're serious about your work. So yeah.
Nice.
I agree as well. I actually didn't get started until the end of my sophomore year, beginning of my junior year, when I was in Dr. McGinley's sea turtle research class. That was kind of when I first started being able to do research and kind of learn more that was available at Flagler. So I agree. If you have that awareness of other volunteer opportunities or anything like that, definitely take advantage of that.
I'll add that all our science faculty are involved in research in some shape or form based on their own expertise. And our doors are always open. You can come see any of us. As Sam said, can be as early as your freshman year, right? And we encourage that because it means that you get a more sort of broad array of experiences when you start early. Yeah, so research, I think, is available for anybody who wants to do it in our department.
And I will say that's not lip service either. We built our program based on the idea that we'd be working with students one-on-one because that's not something you get everywhere. So every one of our faculty members have bought into that idea. And I will tell you on days that, I might be having a bad day and students didn't show up for class, what really excites me is knowing, like today, Sam and her capstone group, I got to take them out on our department boat and they got to do research for their capstone project. So I was looking forward to that all day. So it really isn't lip service. We want you to get involved. We are all approachable, I would hope. So yeah, that is very, very sound advice as soon as you can.
Ed and Sam, I'm curious about this conference that you all went to. So we've been talking a lot about research, but you all also go to conferences. Um, can you talk a little bit more about that experience?
What I will do is I will introduce the topic or I will introduce the conference. And then I'll let Sam tell you how that experience was for her because I've been to multiple conferences. And if you're not familiar, a conference is where people in a field will get together to share research. So there's conferences for any discipline you're involved in. For us, it's the International Sea Turtle Society. They have a symposium every year. Last year, I took students to Ghana in Africa, and this most recent trip was in March to Hawaii, and I was able to take 8 students. And I will let Sam kind of fill you in on what that meant, like getting ready and then going to the conference.
Yeah, so this was my first conference, and I'm definitely grateful that I got to experience it with other students and also under the supervision of a professor, just because I didn't know what to expect. And going into that, like as an undergraduate, is super intimidating because these people are experts from all over the world. And so it was definitely super beneficial to be with Dr. McGinley. And he made the process super easy and enjoyable. So I presented two of my research topic or research projects that I was working on with other students. The first was behavioral observations of green sea turtles in marinas in St. Augustine. And then the other one, we were using hydroacoustics to detect objects in the water to hopefully eventually find out where sea turtles hang out most often and see if we can pick them up on a side scan sonar. Um, and yeah, like I said, it was intimidating at first, but I think Dr. McGinley made it super easy. And I definitely wouldn't change a thing. And I wish I was still there. But all good things have to come to an end, unfortunately. So yeah. Oh, and then to answer the second part of what Dr. McGinley was talking about. So I started both of these research topics in August of this year. And it was cool getting to see the process of doing your research and building it up to present it. Because a lot of the times, like I was in a wetland research class and I was doing like water quality and stuff like that. And I got to present it, but I didn't get to do it at a conference. So it was cool to get to see the whole process and get to experience that. And I think it was super beneficial because I am graduating. So it is something that I need to experience. So yeah.
Thank you. Madeline, did you want to share about any conferences that you attend with students?
Um, yeah, so I think the most recent one that I can talk about is, and that allows me to talk about some of our local partnerships as well. And so, right down the road from Flatter College is the Guanatolomado Matanzas National Estuarine Research Reserve, which is a very long mouthful, but is an organization that is dedicated to preservation of local land, particularly coastal land, and to conduct research within it, right? And so we have a team of scientists that are very close by that we collaborate with really closely. And every year they have a conference that includes researchers sort of locally from Flagler College, but also a few other local institutions in Florida and even from out of state as well. And so it's a nice little conference that happens locally, but has allows you to like connect with scientists from here and elsewhere as well. And so I was working with a student on an independent study where we use acoustic recorders to look at songbird or marsh bird diversity along a mangrove gradient. So marshes with lots of mangroves compared to marshes with very little mangroves. And so that conference was just about a month ago. And so that was the most recent one that my student was the lead author on, and she did a great job presenting at that conference.
Fascinating. Thank you. So if I'm a student who's listening to this, I think you all have answered some of this, but if I'm a prospective student and I'm listening to this and I know that I'm interested in biology and I know that I want to do research, I'm not quite sure, like I might have an idea of like a topic that I might want to research, but you all would help guide towards like what the actual research would look like, the requirements upon the research and like authoring of the papers, right?
Absolutely. And often, like Sam said earlier, the first beginning stages, we wouldn't expect a student with no experience to come in and like necessarily have a whole project that they've thought out or have aspirations to go to an international conference. Often it starts with little steps like volunteering with a professor, talking to them about their research, and then over time that experience builds and that confidence as a researcher builds as well. And we have a variety of different expertise in the department. It just so happens that Dr. McGinley and I are both sort of on the ecology side of things, but we have a faculty in the department that work more on like the biochemistry and genetics. And so there really is sort of something for everyone. And sometimes a student thinks that they really want to study one thing and they get involved and they're like, oh, I don't know, maybe I want to try something else. Or they give it a shot for a topic that didn't think would really excite them all that much, and they find a passion for it through doing the work. And so, yeah, start small, I guess, is what I was starting off with. And then, you know, you learn, and we faculty sort of learn along with you.
I love that. All right. Well, let's shift a little bit and let's talk a lot about experience and kind of what it's like to be a student scientist here at Flagler College. So we have chatted a lot about the relationship between professors and students. I didn't know if there was anything more that we would want to touch on. I heard Madeline, you talk earlier about, it being no grad students, but are there any other, I mean, I've heard lots of anecdotal stories, of course, here, but maybe Zoe and Sam might want to talk a little bit about like the professor-student relationship and the difference that that's had on their academic experience. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so for me, I feel like opposed to other schools which would have just a larger class size and even as Dr. D was saying earlier, kind of less of a relationship between professors and students due to not doing the labs one-on-one and that sort of thing. I think that definitely helps. And the labs are also paired up with the same students and professors, which I think also kind of helps reinforce whichever information you're learning in the lecture to the lab. It just kind of keeps the same routine. You're with the same professor. So anything that you also would need help with that you are even struggling with in lecture could also be reinforced again there. So I think that extra time and the more one-on-one opportunities are helpful. And then again, just like help with assignments, exams, it's not unheard of to stay after class or go to office hours. I've taken advantage of that several times. So yeah, it's definitely helpful to have that relationship.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with everything that Zoe said, and kind of to elaborate more on office hours. So that I think is something that is really big about, or really good about Flagler, is that we can meet with our professors at any time. You just email them, and they typically have set hours, but they're willing to meet at any time. And I think at larger institutions, it's harder to do that because a lot of the professors could have 300, 500 students and in multiple classes. And it's definitely easier to know that your professor is like always there and willing to meet. And I definitely feel like every professor is going to sit there until you get it, and they're very good about that. They're not just going to leave you high and dry. And so yeah, I definitely think the office hours, being able to meet with them at any time, all that is super helpful.
Madeline, I was in one of your labs the other day and noticed that it was like what I would consider like the right size. About how many students are typically in, a lab?
And we cap them at 20 students, usually, sometimes fewer, depending on the particulars of that class. But for a lab load, I don't, in the sciences, never more than 20. Yeah. So it's a good size. We have a good little group, enough students to work together, but we really get to know the students one-on-one over the course of the semester.
And then what about when you're out in the field? What does field work look like?
Sorry, I couldn't find my mouse to unmute. It all kind of depends. If we can take a whole lab out. It might be an ecotourist boat trip. It might be I've taken students down to the intercoastal to sample fish. As we get into our research classes, the sea turtle research that both these students had mentioned, that might be more like 6 students. So it is a much more kind of targeted one-on-one. And even in our capstone, and I know we've mentioned it a couple times, but just to make sure all the details are out there, all students in either major are required to do a senior research capstone. It's a class. It is capped at 12 students now with a professor, and we've started to team teach it. So you'll work in a group of about 3 to 4, and that group needs to come up with a research question, experimental design, obviously with very involved kind of feedback from the professor. In that case, we might be doing it in the field with a group of 4. So it all kind of depends, but if we're actually going out to collect data for our research or specific student projects, we try to have it smaller, one for safety and two because it makes it a more engaging experience if there's only a handful of people there versus a full lab of 20.
Very good. I do think that that probably allows for that more personal connection that Sam and Zoe are referencing. So we've had the fall semester, most of the spring semester. Is there a moment that like stands out to you all, like within the labs or the classroom, that you all might want to talk about? That kind of like talks about the Flagler experience.
It's hard for me to think of anything else but the capstone symposium. And so Ed just talked about capstone as this culminating, I stole his answer again, maybe, as this like culminating experience that all students in our science program go through. And I think this Zoe's already completed hers. Sam is nearing the end of her capstone, and I think they can both say how sort of intense and rewarding capstone can be. And when students are presenting, we have a symposium at the end of the semester that is very well attended by our local partners, families, friends, faculty. And every time I'm always like filled with like such a sense of pride and amazement into like the work that our students are able to do in just 12 weeks as like they come into a program um, not really knowing what they want to do often or who they want to be, and they sort of emerge full-fledged scientists. And it like always makes me emotional and feel like it really speaks to what we do that's special in our department at Flagler.
Yeah.
Yeah, in listening to Madeline talk, I realized probably one of the most meaningful moments for me is, I mean, probably going to get choked up thinking about it, is, I've worked with Sam for several years now. I've worked with Zoe. The students that we work with, we get to know them not only as students, but as human beings. And so as we move towards that graduation date, it's a very bittersweet feeling for me because we've watched students grow up before our very eyes and kind of figure out what they want to do with their lives. So kind of just getting to that moment and knowing I'm sad that I won't see them every day, here on campus, but just filled with so much pride, as Madeline said, as they move on to do all these amazing things. And I can't tell you how many emails I get, texts I get from alumni who are like, hey, I just wanted to let y'all know I started this, I did this, I went here, and it's because of something I learned in Dr. D's class. So like that feeling at graduation, knowing that these students are prepared and ready to conquer the world, I never get tired of that feeling.
I love that.
I would say I don't have a particular moment, but I think when I look back at where I started freshman year, I had no credits, no research experience, nothing. To look at like what I've done now, I definitely couldn't have done it without my professors, and I definitely could not have done it anywhere else. I couldn't see myself doing as much as I've done anywhere else. And so I guess just seeing like my own personal growth has been kind of rewarding, and it gets me through the days that are kind of hard. And like I'm in capstone right now, so I've been dealing with a lot, but it definitely gets me through that, and it makes me hopeful for the future and helps me relieve some of my stress for sure.
I love it.
Yeah, and for me also, I feel like when I came in, I also kind of had no clue what I wanted to do. I started off planning to do something more with coastal environmental science, and then I realized I wanted to do something more hands-on with animals, and that's what led me to the thought of vet school. And I feel like figuring most people know that going into undergrad, so I feel like the professors really helped me to kind of grow from where I already was to get to the point that I am now. And I'm really grateful for that because maybe would have been easier at the time to have already been prepared for those classes that I needed to take. And then kind of having to change gears in the middle of my major could have been pretty scary, but luckily I had good people here to help me through it. So I'm appreciative of that.
I love that. All right, I've been eager to ask Sam. I've heard that you have some things lined up for after graduation. Do you want to tell us about what you have?
Yeah, so I just recently accepted an internship position that I applied for. I will be in the US Virgin Islands, interning at an aquarium. It's called Coral World National Park, or yeah, Coral World Park. And I will be working with animals, doing diet preparation, cleaning their tanks, assisting in rehabilitation, stuff like that. So I'm really excited. I start in June. So it's definitely nice to know I have something lined up. But yeah, so that's what I'll be doing.
I'm thrilled for you. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Zoe, we heard something about vet school.
Yes, so I also was recently accepted to vet school at UGA, which is my home state back in Georgia. So when I graduate in May, I'll be moving back there this summer, and then I'll start in August. So I'm really excited about that.
Great. And then for Madeline and Ed, so I know that, as we're continuing to build the biology program, you all have been developing some partnerships. And so if you want to talk about the partnerships and like the vision that you have for, the program and our students.
Yes. So I will say that we have a network of partners that we have been strengthening over the years with the Whitney Lab, which is associated with UF, which is just down the road from us, and the GTM Research Reserve that I was referring to earlier. We sort of started building this with our environmental science major that we've had for about 10 years now. The biology major is newer, right? So this is near the end of our second year officially with biology, and so those relationships, I think, on the ecology, organismal, environmental side are really well developed, and we're like sort of continuing to build on in other areas, right? So related to human health in particular. We have some exciting partnerships down the line that I don't know that I can officially announce quite yet, but we've got exciting things happening. But we do have students already working with local organization. We're just working on like formalizing some of those partnerships.
Great. Oh, here comes Zoe again. Welcome back, Zoe.
Hi, sorry.
Well, you're just in time. Unless anyone has any other things, is there something that we haven't chatted about tonight that you all think is really, we just really need to talk about it to make sure it's included in the conversation?
I will add, I received an email today from someone that I hope was able to join us in the town hall. So I don't know if they're listening, but if they are, this is for you. And so this person is interested in medical school, and they had a couple of questions about how the biology major can support that pathway. We do have, so the biology major is on its second year, and we certainly have an existing cohort of students who are interested in medical school or even dental or PA programs or pharmacy and sort of human healthcare related paths. And so that student body is here, and we're getting sort of more and more interest in that path. And so we do offer now all of the prerequisites that are required for admission into, for example, med school, right? And so all of the courses that you would need to complete before you get there, we do offer those courses. And one of the questions whether we had students had successfully been admitted into medical school. I can talk about one recent graduate whose name is Caroline Blaha. She actually graduated right before we launched a biology major as a bio minor. But because of her like immense dedication, she was able to get accepted in I forget the exact term. It's like sort of transition program to, as long as you finished a certain number of courses, would move into the medical school at George Washington University. And so we have history of placing students in some of those programs, and that is growing as we're growing the biology major. And we've been able to successfully place students in vet school, which is also very competitive. So congratulations to
Yeah.
Zoe on that. And then we had questions about healthcare advising or like med school advising. And so in their first year, students would get advised by our staff advisors. So we have the Center for Advising and Core Experience that advise our first year students who are really well placed to help incoming students with advising. And after that, they get shifted over to a faculty advisor, and we do have a subset of faculty advisors that we ask our staff advisors to direct students to. And so if you come here and you communicate early that you're interested in a pre-health path, you can be sure that you will then be passed on to a professor that feels comfortable advising you in that journey. Hopefully that answers those questions that I received early.
That's great. Thank you. Anything else that we might not have covered that you think is important to cover tonight?
I will say, like, one thing I've learned in my time here is that the students who are most successful aren't necessarily always the ones who are straight A students and just can breeze through academics. The most successful students here are the ones who show up. And it seems, kind of basic, but I'm Dr. Doron can tell you the same thing. We have high hopes for a lot of students. We can only meet you halfway. I've had wonderful experiences with students who, by getting involved and just showing up, have been able to do some amazing things. It's not the entire part of it, but I would encourage anyone listening that, wherever you decide to go, hopefully it's Flagler, hopefully we'll see you, but just show up, right? Make sure you do what you need to. Make sure we know who you are, and we will do everything we can to make sure you're successful here. That's why we like the students that come here, is because they're a good fit for Flagler and we get to see them do amazing things. So I would just finish with that.
I love that. I think that's the perfect ending for tonight, Ed. So thank you. So I want to thank everyone, our panel, and all of our attendees for joining in on the conversation tonight. I've really enjoyed having the time with you all to learn more about the biology program. And I'm still your biggest fan. I just, continue to love what you all are doing. And to our prospective students who are on the phone, or admitted students who are here with us tonight, we look forward to welcoming you, hopefully in the fall. You'll receive a recording of the event tonight. We've recorded it and we'll send that out to you. And, take care and we'll see you soon. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
Thank you.